I've been involved in the cleanup of Santa Susana Field Laboratory since about 2001, and we've been working for a very long time to try to get Boeing and the responsible parties, the federal responsible parties in NASA and the Department of Energy, to do the right thing. And it has been a challenge. They have spent the better part of the last 2 decades basically doing everything they can to divide the community, so that you have the community fighting itself over not wanting to be safe, all in the interest of denial, in the interest of money, in the interest of letting these responsible parties get away with leaving toxic, radioactive, and chemical contamination behind. Last year in November, the Woolsey fire happened, and it started on the Boeing property. And despite the efforts to silence people like me, the fact is the fire started there. It burned 80% of the Santa Susana Field Laboratory, and then it also went on to burn something like 96,000 acres. So that ash, that re-exposure of that toxic material is significant. And instead of answering our questions, they did everything to not make that available. In fact, what they did was refuse to let anyone do any testing until that ash was washed away in the recent rains. So you have local community surrogates that are representing the polluter and telling people that the site didn't really burn when it did. Boeing, as you know, is responsible for the 737 MAX, those 2 air crashes, and the fact is the entire world had to ground that plane before the United States of America would do anything against Boeing, because Boeing's reach here is so great, it is so deep, and it goes at every level, at the state level, at the federal level, and indeed at the local city and county levels as well, because that's where those decisions are made, those decisions on land use. And that is why they have targeted the neighborhood councils as a way to, it's the perfect deflection machine, because the people doing the lying aren't the people that are responsible. So it's kind of perfect. It's like the perfect crime. Except the people that are suffering are the people that live here. And so for some reason, they've managed to get the people representing our local communities, the people who live here, to work against their own interests and against the interests of this community in favor of saving Boeing money. Because to say nothing happened is easier. To say nothing happened means that there's not a problem to worry about. And the fact is that there is. There were 54 children that have been mapped by Melissa Bumstead, who has collected well over 600,000 signatures in support of a full, proper cleanup. And yet, members of the neighborhood council, specifically the environmental committees, Alec Uzemic and Steve Randall, have worked every meeting to deny these facts and to even ridicule these families that are fighting things that we should never have to think about. Imagine your child going through cancer. People should not be coming into the world with these problems. So we need to look very carefully when we see clusters like this. And people who are reporting those clusters should not be targeted. I will say personally, Steve Randall has targeted me. They filed injunctions against me using false allegations under declarations under penalty of perjury. They lied in order to get police at my house to threaten me. They even threatened people that were talking similar to me. People who were saying that 80% of the site burned were threatened by Steve Randall online, and he did so in writing. And yet this city is going to defend Steve. So I'm asking you, West Hills, it doesn't matter what side you are on when it comes to the cleanup. What matters is, do you want people that are in those volunteer positions to be doing that work because they want to represent the people, their neighbors, their friends and family, their community? Or do you want people that are cozying up to the polluter for money? Because if that's what you want, Steve Randall and Alec Uzemic, they are your guys. Same with Dan Bryn. Do not vote for Dan Bryn. Do not vote for Charlene Rothstein. Do not vote for Steve Randall. And do not vote for Alec Uzemic. They have worked to make this community less safe in the interest of their own financial gain. And using city resources to retaliate against whistleblowers. I wasn't whistleblowing against them. I was talking about what was not happening correctly up there. But they somehow needed to defend Boeing and kick me out of the entire process. Many of you disagree with my point of view, but I think most of you will agree that I know what I'm talking about. My data, my positions are grounded in data that I have researched carefully, and I would argue probably more carefully than anyone else that you know. You don't have to believe me. I'm not going to bother with this anymore because I can't be targeted by people like Steve Randall and the city of Los Angeles anymore, all because they want to lie to the people to make the people less safe. I don't know how many children have to die before it matters. Maybe it doesn't matter until it's your own grandchild, but that's disgusting. You have to care enough to want to protect people that you will never meet. And those are the people that can convince you that that's what they're doing. Those are the people you should be voting for.